Have you ever found yourself just incredibly drawn to someone? Not because they were obviously trying to impress you, but, well, because they had this certain captivating mystery. Or maybe you've seen the opposite. You know, really wonderful, kind people who just struggle to spark that real desire.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like they're doing everything right, by conventional standards at least.
Exactly. It's like some people are just effortlessly unforgettable. They draw others in, while others, even though they're earnest and good, they seem to just fade into the background.
It's a common dynamic, definitely.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just scratching the surface here. We are plunging into a set of truly bold and honestly, sometimes quite unsettling truth about human connection, about desire, especially now in the modern world. Our source for this exploration is a really fascinating, pretty uncompromising take called The Art of Seduction, Modern Laws of Desire. It basically distills principles from the profound and often stark insights of Robert Greene.
And Greene's work is known for being quite direct, sometimes uncomfortably so.
Right. So our mission, like always, is to sift through this, pull out the most potent, maybe even controversial nuggets, and give you a kind of shortcut to being really informed about these often unspoken rules of attraction.
And maybe unspoken is the key word there, because a lot of this operates beneath the surface of everyday interaction. But right from the start, let's be absolutely clear. This deep dive, the source material itself, it isn't some fluffy guide to just making friends or finding a comfortable partnership. Not really.
No, it's much sharper than that.
It presents a pretty stark reality. Human desire, it argues, isn't always logical. It's not always fair. And ignoring its true, sometimes brutal nature, that can lead to being overlooked, forgotten, maybe even abandoned eventually.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. So this is about understanding the mechanics, the underlying psychology of attraction. It's not necessarily about endorsing every single application you could think of.
That's a really important distinction. Understanding versus endorsing.
Critically important. Because the insights here, they can be incredibly powerful. You might even say, well, the source implies they're almost dangerous in how effective they can be.
Right. Potent.
Exactly. So think of this as a deep dive with a serious warning label attached. We're here to look at what is, according to this source, not necessarily to debate what should be.
And I think it's worth repeating, the goal isn't manipulation here, right? It's about understanding these dynamics, maybe for self-awareness, maybe for connection, but ethically.
Precisely. Ethical application, self-awareness. Using this knowledge responsibly is key because it delves into deep psychological territory.
Okay, so let's get into it. The source just jumps right in, doesn't waste any time. It starts with what it calls 3 emotionally brutal truths you were never told.
Brutal is the right word. They're designed to shock you out of conventional thinking.
Yeah, these aren't gentle suggestions. They're presented as harsh reality checks. They lay the groundwork for understanding what this source calls true seduction. And honestly, they explain why a lot of common advice, about being good or always available might actually backfire, completely work against you when it comes to sparking real desire.
It's deliberately counterintuitive.
So let's unpack that first brutal truth. It states, people don't desire you because you're available. They desire you because you're scarce.
Straight away, that challenges everything we're usually told.
Totally. It goes against all that modern advice to be always there, reliable, present. It feels wrong almost, doesn't it? Like, shouldn't you be accessible, open? But this text says, nope, the opposite.
It does. And the logic, according to the source, hinges on perceived value.
Okay. Explain that. How does scarcity create value in, like, a person?
Well, think about it in simple terms. A rare diamond versus a common rock. The inherent material might not be that different in utility, but the scarcity drastically changes the perceived value, the desire for it.
Okay. I get that for objects.
The source argues it works similarly in an emotional context. Being just out of reach, not always attainable, it sparks kind of primal chase instinct, a wanting that actually intensifies the harder something or someone is to obtain.
So the more available you are,
the less inherent value or allure your presence holds, potentially. It's almost like our psychology is wired to undervalue what comes too easily. Familiarity breeding contempt, maybe, but faster.
Wow. Okay, that is a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're genuinely trying to be a good, supportive partner or friend.
Yeah.
Dependable.
And that leads directly into the second truth, which is maybe even more challenging to our ideas of niceness.
Right. This one states, being kind, loving, and loyal doesn't make you irresistible. It makes you dependable.
Ouch. Dependable. Sounds like a consolation prize in this context.
Exactly. Like, dependability is absolutely crucial for a long-term stable relationship, no question. We need that. But the source argues it's not the thing that creates that initial intense spark, that obsession.
Right. It doesn't generate irresistibility. So if just being relentlessly nice isn't the path to being desired, what is? According to this framework, anyway.
Yeah, what's the alternative? Being mean.
Not necessarily mean, but the source uses the word friction. It argues that deep desire needs tension. It needs a little bit of confusion about your emotions, not constant comfort and predictability.
Friction. Okay.
The text is very direct here. It says if someone is never slightly confused about your emotions, they'll never feel addicted to you. Dependability offers comfort, security vital for lasting bonds, absolutely. But they don't necessarily ignite that magnetic pull, that initial captivation.
So desire thrives on a little bit of emotional uncertainty, a subtle push and pull.
That's the argument. Not wild swings, but enough unpredictability to keep things interesting, to keep them guessing, engaged.
Okay, this is already shaking things up. And then there's the third truth. This one feels particularly harsh, maybe, but also weirdly insightful. It says, trying to prove your worth makes you look weak.
This one cuts deep for anyone who's ever felt they had to convince someone they were good enough.
Right. You don't earn desire, it says, by lifting your good qualities, your achievements, constantly trying to impress. You earn it by making them feel uncertain, captivated, curious.
It flips the script entirely.
Totally. And here's the real punch. The more you try to be enough, the more desperate you look. Seduction works when you make them feel they're not enough without you.
Whoa. Okay, that's a very potent and potentially dangerous framing. Making them feel not enough without you.
It implies that true desire comes from creating a sense of lack or potential in the other person, a feeling that they need you to unlock something within themselves. But how do you even do that ethically without just manipulating their insecurities?
That is the crucial ethical tightrope, isn't it? And the source suggests it's less about fabricating a need and more about subtly tapping into or reflecting desires, ambitions, or even insecurities that are already there. We'll get more into the how with the specific laws.
Yeah.
But the core idea is that the usual approach, here's why I'm great, please like me, often backfires. It signals insecurity, a need for their validation. Whereas true power, in this seductive sense, comes from making them see what they might gain, feel, or become by being connected to you.
Shifting the focus from your value to their potential with you.
Exactly. It's a subtle but profound shift.
Okay, so those are the three brutal truths. Scarcity over availability, friction over pure kindness, and making them feel the need rather than proving your worth. Heavy stuff.
Definitely foundational. And if we connect all this to our current world, this hyper-distracted era, you mentioned the constant stream of likes, swipes, instant messages. You can see why these stark principles might feel even more critical now.
Yeah, how does this play out today?
Well, the source argues that traditional ways of connecting, or just being nice, often aren't enough anymore to cut through the sheer volume of noise. There's just too much competition for attention, too many fleeting interactions.
So blending in is basically disappearing.
Pretty much. Blending in means being instantly forgotten, swiped past, ignored.
Which brings us then to the core of this deep dive. If those are the brutal truths, how do you actually navigate this? The source argues that to be genuinely seductive today, to stand out, you need to be memorable, mysterious, and quoting here, emotionally dangerous.
Emotionally dangerous. That's a provocative phrase.
It really is. And it claims Robert Greene's laws, distilled and adapted, offer powerful tools for creating lasting desire, even in a world drowning in superficiality. So these aren't just historical curiosities. They're presented as vital tools for now.
Essential for becoming someone who leaves a real mark, not just a fleeting impression.
Okay, let's get into the first of these essential laws. Law 1. Court attention at all costs, with the chilling tagline, what is unseen counts for nothing.
Stark, isn't it? It's a fundamental reminder. If people don't even notice you, you simply don't exist in their minds, let alone their desires.
So seduction starts purely with visibility, before any connection.
According to this law, yes. Your absolute first goal is interruption. You need to become an emotional glitch in their mental routine. In this age of constant dopamine hits and scrolling, just getting noticed, registering on their radar is the first hurdle. Everything else comes after.
And the big mistake people make here.
Trying to blend in, dimming your light, hoping to seem humble or nice or non-threatening. We often do this unconsciously, right? to fit in.
Yeah, wanting to be liked, not wanting to stand out too much.
But the source calls this social suicide in the game of seduction. It directly undermines the goal of being desired. If you're just another muted color in the background, you're easily overlooked and forgotten.
So how do you court attention without being obnoxious or, desperate? It sounds almost performative.
It's presented as being strategic, not necessarily loud. The text suggests being visually disruptive, but subtly. Maybe a style that whispers, "I'm not like the others," rather than shouting it.
Okay, a unique style, maybe. What else?
Speaking with presence. Not rushing your words, letting them have weight, using silence effectively. It conveys confidence, centeredness.
Slowing down in a fast world.
Exactly. And crucially, being emotionally rare, offering moods, insights, or an emotional texture they don't usually encounter, becoming an experience for them, not just another person they met. It's about sparking curiosity through distinctiveness.
Becoming an experience. I like that. But then comes this part, this warning. It feels quite intense.
It is. The source issues a direct warning related to this law. If you're unnoticed, you're unremembered. If you're unremembered, you're unloved.
Wow. That's a brutal chain reaction. Unnoticed equals unremembered equals unloved. It's a really powerful, almost unnerving wake-up call about the importance of simply being seen first.
It frames visibility not just as vanity, but as the absolute prerequisite for connection and ultimately love in this context.
Okay, so get noticed. Then what? Law 2 sounds even more provocative. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability, suspended terror.
Yeah, the language is extreme, designed to grab you. But the core idea directly attacks our usual assumptions about stability in relationships, especially early on. For seduction, it argues, predictability is lethal.
Lethal, wow.
Desire, in this view, thrives on tension, uncertainty, and suspense. Not knowing exactly what's coming next, the source claims, is what keeps people emotionally invested. It forces them to think of you more, wonder about your mood, analyze your behavior, and obsess.
Obsess. That's the key word there. It sounds like you're intentionally trying to make them constantly think about you by being unpredictable.
It's about creating a compelling puzzle, a mild, ongoing state of emotional suspense, you could say.
So the mistake then is being an open book.
Yeah.
Being emotionally transparent and consistent at all times.
Exactly. We often think showing everything, all our thoughts, feelings, our schedule, demonstrates openness, builds trust. And in a mature relationship, maybe it does. But for sparking that initial intense desire, the source says it kills the mystery.
Because there's nothing left to figure out, nothing to wonder about.
Precisely. If they can always predict your reaction, your mood, when you'll text back, the chase is over before it really begins. The intrigue evaporates.
Okay, so instead of total transparency, you need to.
What?
How do you cultivate unpredictability without just seeming flaky, unreliable, or even manipulative? That seems like a really fine line.
It absolutely is. It's about strategic unpredictability, not random chaos. The text suggests you vary your responses. Sometimes be incredibly engaging, warm, present. Other times be a little more distant, maybe preoccupied, not cold, just subtly less available.
Creating contrast.
Right. And also, don't always explain yourself. Let them wonder sometimes why your energy shifted or why you made a particular choice. Resist the urge to justify everything.
Leaving gaps for their imagination to fill.
Exactly. And importantly, create emotional pauses. Go quiet sometimes. Pull back slightly. Not necessarily to punish, but to ignite reflection and craving. It's like controlling the tempo of the interaction, the flow of emotional information.
Like a storyteller pausing for dramatic effect.
That's a good analogy. You're managing the emotional narrative. And there's another strong warning here from the source.
Okay, let's hear it.
Seduction ends where predictability begins. Be unpredictable, not chaotic. Let your silence have meaning. Your moods create curiosity.
Unpredictable, not chaotic. That's the crucial distinction. You want intrigue, not instability.
Yes, it requires finesse. Deliberate action, not just random behavior. The goal is curiosity, not confusion or frustration.
Okay, this is complex. Let's move to Law 3. Create temptation. And the quote attached. Once people are used to your presence, the seduction is over. This really seems to target our instant gratification world.
It does. This law fundamentally argues that seduction is not about giving, it's about delaying. Temptation, it claims, is born in absence, nurtured by anticipation, not satisfied by constant presence or immediate fulfillment.
So you have to make them feel like you're almost theirs.
But not quite. That's the key phrase, that near-miss feeling, the sense that satisfaction is close but still requires effort. That's what fuels desire according to this law.
My first reaction is, again, isn't that just playing games? It feels a bit Calculated. Cruel, maybe.
It can certainly feel that way. The source acknowledges the potentially harsh nature of this, but it argues that basic human psychology values what it has to struggle for.
Okay.
So the common mistake here is overgiving in the early stages. Bombarding someone with affection, constant availability, total honesty right away. We do this thinking it builds security, shows we're keen.
Right, trying to lock it down.
But the source bluntly states that in seduction, security is the enemy. It's the very thing that extinguishes the chase, the longing, the desire to pursue. When something comes too easily, its perceived value just plummets.
So what does delaying look like in practice? How do you do that without just being rude or dismissive?
It's about subtle emotional retreats, not ghosting or being nasty. The source suggests things like, pull back slightly after moments of intense intimacy. Let them feel a small withdrawal, a need to bridge that gap again.
Okay, creating a little space.
Maybe reply later than expected sometimes. Not always instantly. Not out of rudeness, but to stir a little tension, make them anticipate your response, value it more when it comes.
Managing response times.
And critically, never give all of yourself at once. Always keep parts of your personality, your history, your thoughts somewhat hidden. Leave something for them to discover later. Maintain an ongoing sense of intrigue.
So it's about managing the release of connection, keeping them wanting more.
Exactly. And the warning here is incredibly direct. If you fulfill their desire too quickly, you kill the chase. People value what they struggle to attain. It's a stark lesson. Ease of attainment often kills desire.
Okay, that's a lot to process. Now, Law 4, this one feels different, deeper maybe. Enter their spirit. And the quote, people are not seduced by your qualities, they are seduced by their own reflected desires.
This is perhaps the deepest and potentially the most ethically complex law in the framework. It argues that true, profound seduction isn't about showcasing yourself at all.
So it's not about being impressive.
No, it's about entering their emotional world. It's about reflecting them back to themselves in a way that resonates deeply. When you mirror someone's deepest desires, fears, or hidden fantasies, the source claims they become emotionally exposed and emotionally dependent on you for that feeling of being truly seen.
Wow, dependent, that's a strong word.
Yeah.
So the mistake is just talking about yourself, trying to impress them with your life.
Yes. The common mistake is trying to impress, listing achievements, oversharing your own feelings, making it all about you. We think we're showing our value. But seduction, in this profound sense, isn't about being seen. It's about seeing the other person, truly seeing them.
Making them the focus, making them feel understood on a level they rarely experience.
Precisely. It's about making them feel that you hold the key to understanding themselves, or that being with you allows them to access parts of themselves they value or desire.
But how? How do you do that? How do you enter their spirit authentically? It sounds almost psychic.
It's presented as requiring deep observation and empathy. It involves studying their insecurities not to exploit them, but to reflect compassion and silent understanding for their hidden struggles.
So acknowledging their vulnerabilities without judgment.
Yes, and also mirroring their ideal self. Subtly reflecting back the qualities they admire or aspire to, making them feel that with you, they are closer to being that ideal person, more powerful, more beautiful, more insightful, whatever it is they value.
Making them feel their best self when they're around you.
Exactly. And maybe echoing their pain silently, not necessarily talking about it directly, but conveying through subtle gestures, a knowing look, an unspoken empathy that you understand their deeper feelings. It creates an incredibly powerful, often subconscious bond.
Okay, this feels incredibly potent. And this is where the ethical considerations get really sharp, right? Because the warning here is profound.
It really is, the source warns. Once someone feels emotionally understood, they confuse it with intimacy, even love.
They confuse it. So it might not be real love, but it feels indistinguishable.
That's the implication. Feeling truly seen is such a powerful, rare experience for many people that it can create an incredibly intense bond, blurring the lines between understanding and deep emotional connection or love.
Which means wielding this kind of understanding comes with huge responsibility. It can be used to create something amazing or something else.
Absolutely. This law highlights the immense power of deep empathy and reflection. The ethical imperative is to use that understanding to build genuine connection and mutual respect, not to exploit vulnerability for selfish gain. Knowing this mechanism also helps you recognize when it might be happening to you.
That's a good point. Self-awareness on both sides.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the 4 big laws. Court attention, be unpredictable, create temptation, enter their spirit. Beyond those, the source also flags 5 specific deadly mistakes that just kill seduction. Can we quickly run through those?
Definitely. They serve as quick reminders of what not to do, according to this framework. First, overavailability. Just being too easy, too eager, too responsive kills the chase.
Right, we covered that. Number 2.
Excessive emotional transparency, sharing absolutely everything. You think it shows depth, but it signals insecurity and leaves zero mystery.
Okay.
Third, trying to be liked. Actively seeking their approval. It makes you seem needy and kills the allure. You want to be desired, not just approved of. Cultivate mystery instead.
Makes sense. 4th mistake.
Chasing instead of attracting. This is about the power dynamic. Begging for attention or affection versus evoking fascination and obsession. You want them drawn to you, not you pursuing them relentlessly.
Got it. And the 5th deadly mistake.
Using logic to create attraction.
No.
Trying to rationally convince someone why they should be attracted to you, listing your pros. Seduction, the source insists, doesn't listen to reason, it dances with emotion. Logic has no place here.
Okay, those 5 mistakes seem like pretty clear pitfalls based on the laws we discussed. Now, a big question. These ideas, some rooted in Greene's analysis of historical figures in older texts, do they really still work today? Hasn't the world changed?
That's the question everyone asks, right? And the source's answer is an emphatic yes. Why? Because, it argues, humanity hasn't evolved emotionally in fundamental ways, despite all our technological and cultural shifts.
So our core wiring for desire is still the same.
That's the claim. Desire, the source reminds us, is not logical. It's ancient, primal, irrational. We still apparently crave mystery more than clarity. We want craving more than certainty. And we're drawn to emotional highs more than peace, at least initially.
So these laws work because they speak that secret language of the heart or the subconscious.
Precisely. They bypass our rational minds and tap into the hidden architecture of the human heart. A source is quite bold here, saying that as long as humans long for what they can't have, seduction will never go out of style.
It's timeless because human nature at this core level is timeless.
That's the perspective. And finally, there's a really crucial distinction the source makes about what seduction is and isn't. It says, seduction is the snark, not the fire. It's the initial ignition of desire, not the sustained burn of commitment or a long-term relationship.
So it's about starting the fire, not keeping it going indefinitely using the same methods.
Exactly. It creates desire. It doesn't automatically create lasting commitment or deep, stable love. The source even calls it a real tragedy that most people never learn how to spark desire in the first place. They try to jump straight to comfort and commitment
without ever igniting that initial compelling spark. And maybe that's why things fizzle out sometimes.
That's strongly implied. They miss that crucial first stage. And again, to address the elephant in the room, manipulation.
Yes, let's circle back to that ethical point.
The source explicitly stresses that seduction is not manipulation. Or at least it shouldn't be, if applied ethically. It reframes it as emotional intelligence with style.
Emotional intelligence with style. I like that.
Also, connection with mystery and power with softness. The idea is if you understand these dynamics and apply them ethically, intentionally, and with empathy, you don't just attract people superficially, you connect deeply, you haunt them.
Haunt them, in a good way.
In the sense of being unforgettable, leaving a lasting, authentic impression because you've genuinely tapped into something profound within them, reflected their own spirit back to them.
Okay, that reframes it significantly. Not as tricks, but as deep, albeit potentially dangerous, understanding.
Deep understanding that requires responsibility. Which brings us, perhaps, to the final, most provocative thought from the source. A real warning.
All right, I'm braced for it.
The ultimate warning is this. They won't leave you because you were cruel. They'll leave you because you were boring.
Oof. Okay, that lands hard. Boring is the real killer, not cruelty.
That's the stark message. It underscores the whole deep dive. Desire, according to this framework, dies from overexposure. It starves in absolute certainty and predictability.
So if you want to be truly loved and desire that combination, you need to understand this art. Not to deceive, but maybe to awaken what lies sleeping in their soul, as the source puts it.
That's the aspirational framing. It's not about being a perfect, predictable partner bot. It's about being unforgettable.
Unforgettable.
So we've definitely explored some uncomfortable but undeniably potent truths today. The question for you listening is, how might these insights shift your perspective on connection, on attraction, on what truly makes someone captivating?
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Maybe not as a rigid playbook, but as a lens to understand the sometimes confusing, counterintuitive dynamics of human desire.
Exactly. Food for thought, perhaps, about the hidden currents beneath the surface of attraction.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into those often unseen and, yeah, frankly, sometimes alarming currents of human desire. It's been eye-opening.
Indeed, a lot to reflect on.